Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome into the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and if you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode, we're about halfway through the season. We're going to see where these conference standings are shaping up, kind of check in on how we had teams finishing, talk a little bit of playoff scenarios, and we're going to recap all the games from the weekend. And we got a ton of voicemails from you, the fans. Can't wait to listen to them. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first. The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are in the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Well, good morning, Jeff. Happy Monday. I tell you what, good weekend of ball. Very, very underrated weekend of ball. You had a couple wild finishes. You had that North Texas-Memphis game in the evening. You had, of course, that Georgia Southern James Madison game. You had UNLV in the late night. Of course, if you have the CW or not, which, by the way, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out the CW on the YouTube TV. It's my first real disgruntled experience.
It was on there. I watched that game.
I must not have it because I read that
it.
it's. I'm telling you, dude, I don't have it.
It's way down the bottom of the guide.
No, I searched it. I searched for UNLV. I searched for Oregon State, and everybody's telling me it's a local. It'll be a local channel. And I went all the way through the guide. And then when I tweeted about it, then YouTube TV even wrote me a nice response with a bunch of technology words. And I'm like, yo, guys, like, due to blah, 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 some local markets have a video on demand service for the CW. And I'm like,
interesting.
You're going to have to tell me, can I watch the game or not? Okay.
I believe your answer was no.
I think so. I'm telling you, I looked all the way. I looked all through it and couldn't find the thing. I was trying to watch it on my phone a little bit. I was looking at all the bootleg streaming websites trying to watch the thing.
You should just text me. I would have sent you my login. Actually, no.
Yeah, but
if it was geographical, no, because if it was geographical, it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
It's when you got to get the free shout out Express VPN, download it, run it on your phone.
Yeah. I'm not doing all that. So quit asking. I mean, I like, this is my problem with the streaming services.
It's a new world, Sprouse.
Yeah.
It's a new world.
And it all, you know what it all leads back to? A little cable box next to your TV that has up and down arrow for channels. That's all I want, man.
It's not coming back. It's dead. It's gone. It's time to move on.
I don't know. I think though, we will come back to a one-size-fits-all service versus having all these different streaming platforms. And you wonder why. I mean, you wonder why the millennials, we can't make it in this world. You got to have you got to pay for a zillion different things just to live. You know?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what is going to happen, Jeff, and that's the fans going to DeccaGray.com and getting themselves a Deca Gray Group of Five Guys Game Day Dark Roast. I got 2 bags in the mail, plus with my pumpkin space the other week. I tell you, it's good stuff, man. And I think the people on Twitter and Instagram that have gotten it, that have no affiliation, have said it's a really good coffee. My parents are not coffee drinkers, but they got the whole bean, put it out as potpourri in the house. Smells phenomenal. So you guys make sure you go to decagray.com, use our promo code GOFG for a 10% discount and free shipping. It's really good stuff.
Guys, it's roast to order. As soon as you order it, that's when it's roasted. Not months and months ago in some warehouse, and then it was sitting on the shelves, then it had to be trucked into your local grocery store. No, right then and there, roast to order. A couple days later, I mean, this stuff ships quick. Decagrade does a fantastic job, top to bottom, start to finish, and they're supporting us. And if you're worried, if you have a Keurig, they sell the K-Pods, reusable, dishwasher-safe K-Pods on Amazon. Comes in like a 12-pack or something.
Which that, by the way, will save you money. Decagray or not, you know what I mean? Because you buy one of the K cups come in like 36 for the big one. I mean, you're talking over $1 a K cup. I think
100%. I mean, it's expensive. And depending on what blend you get, I mean, there was like a box of 12. I swear it was $16-18 for 12.
Yeah, if you go in there and get any of the high dollar, the whatever the high dollar brand names, anything other than like Publix brand or Walmart brand or Folgers, you're paying a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, but Decagray's cheaper than that anyway, and better, and roast to order,
and supports Group of 5 guys.
It's a win as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of winning, Jeff, America is winning with Army and Navy, my friend, and I'm a believer. I believe. Army. Let me give you my first problem I had over the weekend, because I was, of course, watching the ESPN, and they were showing highlights. Don't get me wrong. They're showing highlights of the undefeated and ranked Army and Navy football teams. But I don't remember what personality said this, but they said something about Army and said they're taking down more cupcakes than I did in high school, or some BS stupid line like that. And I'm just like, buddy, they are destroying everybody that they play. And they still have the ultimate media darling in Notre Dame left on their schedule. Both of them do. So look, if Notre Dame beats them by 100, okay, man, congratulations. Maybe they're not as good as we thought. But if they don't, look out. Now, I do think little disadvantage for Army, because Notre Dame plays Navy first. We get to see, obviously they see it every year, so it's not that big of a deal.
Both.
Oh yeah.
Sure do.
They play Navy this weekend, which, by the way, is game day not going there?
I don't know.
College game day? Are they not going to that game? I realize it's in the freaking Jets, and which in MetLife Stadium. Let me tell you something. You better have extra knee braces over there. You better have all your ankles taped up, and I mean, and especially in that offense, you gotta. So I'm a little concerned with that, but
Indiana.
I don't know where. Hey, Jeff, we owe Kurt Signetti an apology, my friend. Me and you both do. I do.
I don't. I said the guy wins. I just said he seems like a prick, and that hasn't changed.
That still stands. Yeah,
that hasn't
but
changed.
I gotta tell you, I made a comment when he first got hired and he went to the basketball game and he said something about, the Big Ten championship will be playing in that next year, and I laughed my ass off about that. You know what, man? Still a long way to go. Yeah. They still hadn't played any of the, big boys of the Big Ten, quote unquote. But hey, man, they're winning. And it's crazy, dude. They got this. They recruited and developed this quarterback out there in Indiana that I've never seen before. And all of a sudden, I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Curtis Rourke, Jeff. Have you heard of him?
Oh, I think I've heard his name. Top 5 quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
Just wondering what's changed,
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, by the way, Indiana starting quarterback Curtis Rourke, former Ohio Bobcat, who's been a good quarterback for several years now.
What's funny about it is the kid's been the same. Now, this just shows you, this is a perfect example of how the media, it's whatever narrative the media wants to push, because this kid was just as good at Ohio. And sure, he's improved from last year to this year, like most players do every single year. But what has changed? The writing on his chest, the patch, and the TV market.
Oh,
that's it.
Well,
that's it.
And here's the thing too, Jeff. If Indiana is old Indiana, then you still wouldn't be hearing about him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they happen to be winning, so I get that. There's no problem with that, but it's just you're right. It's whatever narrative they want to push, which is why, like, I've been screaming about this for a couple of weeks because I've watched some of these Heisman contenders. Obviously, I've seen Dylan Gabriel a bunch. They're on a lot when it's late and nobody else is on. Obviously, we watched them against Boise. I never really thought he was as good as they say he is. I mean, I've always kind of felt like there's a reason this guy's been school after school after school, and every season there's a lot of hype, and it never really pans out. That being said, it seems like it's panning out this year for them at Oregon. But I watched the Cam Ward kid at Miami. I watched Milroe at Alabama. Let me tell you something about that guy. Not only can we put the Heisman candidate to bed, but I mean, they need to bench that guy. If old DeBear wants to survive one season in Tuscaloosa, he better make a change.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're going to lose more. They're not done losing, by the way.
I don't know who's behind him.
Yeah.
So I don't know who you got to turn to. I mean, this kid was supposed to be, the guy that keeps the ball rolling. Yeah, keeps the ball rolling in Alabama. I don't know who you go to, who's behind him, but I'll tell you who deservingly is in the front of the Heisman race, Ashton Jeanty. I hope the Las Vegas Raiders sell out to get Jeanty because I don't like any of these quarterbacks that are coming out of this year's draft. Not a single one of them. But probably by Raider fashion, we'll draft Shedeur Sanders, and then we'll continue our terrible organization and play on the field.
Well, Jeff, honestly, man, I don't like any of the NFL quarterbacks have been bad, other than Mahomes. I mean, the Josh Allens of the world. But that's it. I mean, There's been bad quarterback play. I think your guy Tom Brady was onto something with some of that. The college game has dumbed it down so much, and then you're expecting them to play immediately and succeed immediately in the NFL that they simplify everything, and then defenses figure that out real quick. And now you got the talking heads on ESPN. It can't be that, it can't be, hey, we got to maybe develop quarterbacks. We got to allow them to learn a system. We got to do this. We need to ban this kind of defense. It's too hard. It's too hard for the quarterbacks. I mean, get out of here, dude.
So stupid.
You've been playing cover 2? I mean, jeez. It's like basic
years now.
Football 101. But anyway, hey, let's look at some of these conference standings because it's starting to shape out, and it's funny. You have some of these teams now that are 3-4 overall, 4-3 overall, maybe started slow, maybe got blown out by a big time SEC opponent, maybe lost some close ones to some in-state non-conference games, but all of a sudden they're 3-4, 4-3, and maybe they're 3-0 in the conference or 2-1 in the conference. And right in the mix of this thing. But let's look at the American. And the American, obviously, right now, you have Army, Navy sitting there undefeated altogether overall. But then you have Tulane, 3-0 in the conference, which, by the way, Army is 6-0 in the conference already, 2 games ahead of Navy, who's 4-0 in the conference. So, I mean, they're about done playing conference games. Yeah. And, I mean, it's looking an awful lot like there's going to be an American Conference Championship game in West Point, New York, which I am all for, by the way. And then, you have Navy, which I've already let my feelings know about that scenario. Tulane sitting there at 3-0 in the conference, still has to play Navy. Then now you get Memphis 2-1 in the conference, but already with a head-to-head loss to Navy and still has to play Tulane. Now that's where it gets interesting. If you have a scenario where Tulane beats Navy, Memphis beats Tulane, it's going to be a whole big mess with a tiebreaker. And then of course you have North Texas sitting there at 2-1 now with the head-to-head loss to Memphis, which they'll they got a chance to mess somebody up down the road. That's a
They
that's
play
a good
Army
team.
down the road, and what's going to be interesting about that game is
Styles, man.
defensively, style clash. Defensively, I don't think they have a prayer to stop Army, but offensively, they have the ability to score. They're going to have to make every possession count, and you got to get points on every possession. But they're going to spread Army out, possibly more than any other team has. Maybe, and they have athletes. That DT Sheffield kid is special. I think they got a chance.
He looks the part too, at least on TV, doesn't he? He looks built, man. He appears to pass the ultimate test, Jeff, and that is the gluten calf test.
No doubt.
But that's just, of course, on TV. And then you got the Charlotte 49ers, Jeff, are 2-1 in the conference, playing decent ball. Although, of course, they just did get obliterated by the Naval Academy. So that head-to-head, it's going to be tough when you have the head-to-head loss and you're a game behind already.
Yeah.
But you never know. There's still, other than Army, they all still got to play everybody. So, there's a chance for a 2-loss team to find their way in there. But outside of right now, I think Army, Navy, Memphis, and then Tulane has an outside chance as a conference champion. Playoff wise, I think it's Army, Navy, Memphis probably needs a little help. Tulane probably needs a lot of help. But again, only 5 teams are going to have a realistic shot.
Yeah.
And so anybody can get upset in a championship game. That's all it takes.
Here's the interesting thing about the American is Tulane plays Navy here in a week, or I think 2 weeks, right? And then Memphis plays Tulane in New Orleans on Thanksgiving Day. Now, I think Tulane is talented enough to get and defensively strong enough to get the job done against both of those teams. But let's just say Tulane beats Navy, Memphis beats Tulane. You have 3 one-loss teams. Then who gets the nod? Would that be Navy? Because of I don't know I forget what the tiebreaker is. Who would
I feel
be
like
the
it normally
second
goes
team?
by the playoff ranking.
Is that what it is? But I don't think any of those teams will be ranked.
Yeah.
If that scenario happens where Tulane beats Navy and then Memphis beats Tulane, you have a 3-way tie for second. And I don't know.
I mean, if Memphis at that point is what, 10-1, I mean, you think they got to be.
I don't know if it defaults to overall record though.
Yeah, but I'm saying if they're 10-1, they ought to be ranked at that point in the season. Is kind of where I'm thinking.
They're not going to rank them. They won't.
I don't know about that, buddy. 10-1 is tough to deny. Now, I will say this: when you look at the poll, the narrative's already starting to, Vanderbilt now in the top 25. Very interesting.
Surprising Navy didn't move up. Or what, they move at one spot?
I don't remember what they were, but that of course is the AP. So we got to wait for the playoff poll is the one that matters.
Yeah.
But Vandy, you just knew that was going to happen because they're already talking about how Alabama can make the playoffs still, and they are selecting their teams and then pushing their narrative to make it fit to where they work. That's what's happening here. The ESPN types, they're loving this. What do we have in the World Series right now, right? Yankees, Dodgers. Is that official now?
I don't know. I was hoping we get a Subway Series.
I thought the Dodgers were up like 3-1, I think. But anyway, you're going to have Yankees, Dodgers. That's what they want. They want Yankees, Dodgers. They want
Yankees,
Celtics,
Dodgers.
Lakers, Knicks, Lakers. They want, I don't even in the NFL. They want the Cowboys somewhere in there. I mean, I know the NFL is a little bit more difficult to place your teams because they do this weird thing, Jeff, where the conference champions, and make the playoff, all the divisions,
really
and then
weird.
they play each other like an actual playoff. So tough to put who you want in there, but that's what they want. That's what ESPN wants. So the more they can narrow it down to have the teams they want, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, they want these ratings, these cash cows.
Yep.
And so any way that they can push that narrative, they're going to do it. And that's why Vanderbilt's ranked. I mean, you're going to have in that scenario, Jeff, like Memphis could be 10-1, 11-1, and potentially be unranked. And their only loss would be to a top 25 Navy team. Vanderbilt, what do they have? They have 2 losses or 3 losses already. One of them to Georgia State. I mean, either way, one of them is to Georgia State.
5-2.
Yeah. I mean, nobody else is given the benefit of that.
Yeah, Georgia State and Missouri was ranked 7 at the time.
Yeah. I mean, nobody else is given the benefit of being able to lose to Georgia State. No offense to Georgia State, but anybody else loses to them, and they're not going to sniff the top 25, and that's going to be such a bad loss.
Well, here's the other piece to it is what they're doing. And if you look at just the AP poll, and I know this is the AP poll, but, Georgia beats Texas. Texas only drops to 5. Like, they're just basically like
they're shuffling them around,
circling in the top 10, really.
Well, if you rank everybody in the SEC in the top 20, then every loss you have is a quality loss. And so they'll just keep moving you back. And then so you move Alabama. What's Alabama right now? 13 or something. 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they win one game again, and they'll be right back in the top 12. That's how they're going to do it. And it's just, man, it's super frustrating. And again, it all goes back to the preseason rankings, because if you didn't have preseason rankings and you didn't have these assumptions, I'm not sure Alabama's even in the top 25 right now. I'm not sure a lot of these teams are.
Yeah.
I mean,
Boise didn't move, although you had some big losses.
They didn't play. I mean,
I know, but still.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They're just, because, that's the other part of this is they're going to leave Boise. Right now, they are banking on Boise being the team from the group of 5. And they're banking on it only being one team.
Yeah.
And so they won't put them above the 12 spot. They're going to keep them. They're going to do the best they can to keep them below that 12 spot. So then they have to put them in at 12. And then they're going to have to say, we had to put Boise State in, and that kept Alabama out. It's unfair to Alabama. That's what we're going to have, because we had to put a group of 5. I'm telling you, the narratives are going to come. They're going to start pushing, man. But
although Boise should have beat the number 1 ranked team in the country, that doesn't mean anything. Nothing.
Absolutely.
Hand
on
the ball
road
to the best running back in the country, maybe 5 more times.
And at least once.
And
at least one time he might have housed it.
Yeah. And you have that game won.
Yeah, but anyway, hey, while we're kind of on the American, let's hit these American games real quick. That North Texas Memphis game was awesome, by the way. Memphis offensively finally looked the explosive offense that we've been waiting for, and it took them playing against another explosive offense. But they gave it to Mario Anderson a ton, and that's the recipe. And this is not a knock on the term. I know there's some debate about that. I think Hennigan is more so a game manager type. And again, I say that in a good way. I don't say that as he can't make plays, but their bread and butter is give the ball to Mario Anderson. I mean, that guy's special. That offensive line is special. The defense is typically pretty damn good. And they did that. And they didn't, what they didn't do is panic. A lot of times, they go down and score on a nice long drive, and then North Texas scores on one play the next 2 drives. And Memphis didn't panic and start, they're going to score. We got to throw it all over the place now. They just kept running their thing. I don't care. We'll go 8-9 plays if they go 1 play. It don't matter. We'll give our defense a little break. And they did that, and they pulled out the win.
And this is the North Texas team. The offense, it's so explosive. Chandler Morris has done a phenomenal job. And I said it a minute ago, DT Sheffield's become one of my favorite players to watch. 8 catches, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns, then had 2 rushes for 82 yards and a touchdown. kid is electric with the ball in space. Just get him the ball. He will do the rest. Makes tons of guys miss. Super athletic, super fast. If their defense could stop anything, they might be a favorite in this conference, but they can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you score 44 points, most games you're going to win, but can't give up 52. That's not good.
No, can't do that. And then Army and Navy both rolled. Army over ECU, who, by the way, made the first coaching fire of the season. Mike Houston out of there, and then Southern Miss also let go of Will Hall. I think both fan bases, especially that Southern Miss fan base, were calling for that. I mean, their fans were chanting fire Will Hall during the game. I'll tell you, man, those are both pretty, especially that ECU job. That's a good job. They both have pretty strong fan support.
Rick Stockstill.
Remember, he was supposed to go there. He was supposed to leave Middle after 2009, wasn't he?
I know.
Jeff, do you have some kind of inside scoop that I don't have?
No, I don't. I wish I did.
No.
I know he wants to coach. I know old Rifle Rick he still has the fire burning, he says.
Yeah.
Wants to get out there. I don't know. I don't know if
No,
they'll go that route.
but yeah, both Army and Navy. I mean, they are. I tweeted. I mean, just machines, man. They're both tough. Really, really tough.
Captain America continues to just run this offense. I mean, 6 total touchdowns, 31 carries, 171 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns, and then another 147 throwing it with 1. I mean, the dude is just like so much fun to watch. He really is. And they are exactly what you said. They are a finely tuned machine. The defense flies around. This game, East Carolina made a late push. That 28 points.
It was a blowout.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot worse. And they kind of climbed back in it towards the end. But, man, I'm telling you, Army is for real.
Yeah, and Navy is too. And Horvath can go. Charlotte went with Max Brown to start the game, and they think he was 0 for 1 with an interception. They got to go with that Ivy kid. But either way, I mean, they weren't beating Navy.
No, they weren't. And I got to say this, Navy, Blake Horvath, he is a really good, he's a better passer, I think, than Bryson Daly is. It's a little bit of a contrast. They both run a similar system, but Navy will get at times, which I think throws defenses a little bit off, because in order to play defense against a triple option team, you cannot play 2 high safeties. You have to bring that extra safety in the box, so you're either limited to really man free or cover 3. And then all of a sudden they're churning, they're running their triple option, their motion, getting it outside. And all of a sudden they'll break the huddle and go shotgun and go like typical spread offense. And then you're like, all right, I'm in cover 3 right now. Now we can run 4 verticals and attack those inside seams. And he can throw it, and he can read it, and he can hit the guys. So it's a little bit tougher to stop because you're banking on them. You know, you're trying to stop the run. You got to sell out and stop it, right? Well, they break the huddle on you and go 4-5 wide, and now they can really push the ball down the field. It's an interesting blend. Not compliments are very nice.
Yeah, they're. I'm telling you, we're going to see back-to-back. We're looking like we're going to see back-to-back Army Navy games, Jeff, and one of them's going to matter. One of them is going to be for a conference championship and a playoff berth, and the other one's going to be an exhibition. So
that's terrible.
Hey, man. Temple beats Tulsa. We kind of saw that one coming. Both teams struggling a little bit. South Florida and UAB, you know, UAB had this game won.
They were close.
South Florida's players are fighting on the sideline. It was unraveling. And then UAB found a way to lose. I mean, that's kind of what I took from that game. But South Florida, man,
what's going on with your Bulls, Sprouse?
Well, they allowed. We talked about this. We said, how will they handle that stretch? And they so far have not handled it very well. And they did get the win, so you'll take the win. And look, they've already played the toughest teams in the conference, so they got a chance to win a bunch of games. And I think they can. A lot of it depends on quarterback play, who's healthy and whatnot. But can't be fighting on the sideline. Take that to the locker room.
Look.
Fights happen, right? You got 100 guys in the same locker room. There's going to be fights. There's going to be those kind of things, but you cannot do it on the sideline. Can't do it. And then UTSA gets a big win over FAU. I'll tell you, UTSA fans that are calling for the head of Jeff Traylor, don't let him walk over there to Greenville, go to ECU. Don't let him do it.
Yeah.
You'll find out about some of these schools, what you think you got a good job, and they're going to, and I'm not saying this is going to happen at all. I'm not saying this is just me being hypothetical. Like, you got some of these other schools in your same conference that coaches will walk to for the support that they feel like they need to build a championship program. And then Tulane gets the win over Rice. Tulane didn't look fantastic. A little sluggish. I mean, Rice defensively looked pretty good. Rice, we thought, was going to be a lot better than they've been so far this year. But hey, you'll take the win. You'll take a 2-touchdown win any day of the week. So that's where the American stands. I think, Jeff, the American's the only conference that has that many teams still sort of alive in this playoff hunt.
Yeah, I mean, you got Army, Navy, obviously. I think Tulane still has an outside shot if, the 2 losses hurts, but it's against Kansas State, who's ranked. Oklahoma's loss is starting
to look bad.
A little bad, but I still think they're
well, they were ranked at the time, which is how they push. It just depends on who we're talking about, what matters, But and then you go look at Conference USA, no games from the weekend, but look, this is Liberty, Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State sitting there 2-0, and then Sam Houston at 2-1. Of course, Sam Houston now has a loss to Western. Look, I think this is Liberty, Western Kentucky at this point. Western Kentucky's playing pretty well lately, but I think it's theirs, and that game's going to be second to last week of the season. Liberty or Western Kentucky at Liberty,
November 23rd. I think Jacksonville State truly has an opportunity. They've seemed to found themselves, especially with their quarterback position in Tyler Huff, and their style of play, the way they like to run the ball, controls time of possession, limits the opposing offense's possessions. And that's a problem for Liberty and Western Kentucky. They want to get the ball as many times as possible, put points up on the board, and both offenses at times have not looked to be as powerful as in years past. Now, every week is different. They can come out and really start blowing the doors off. For me, Jacksonville State's defense is just very questionable this year. Lost a lot of pieces last year. But yeah, I think it's those 3 teams, and I think all 3 of them have a legitimate shot to win the conference.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I agree with you, and it's Liberty's to lose. I mean, it's they're the ones that have been up top, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, go check out our interview with Jamie Chadwell we did last week. Really good stuff about standards on the field, off the field, and the culture they've got at Liberty. Going to the MAC, the MAC, man. I love it. I mean, you have Western Michigan all of a sudden finds themselves 3-0, and then Miami 2-1, Buffalo 2-1, Toledo 2-1, Eastern 2-1, Ohio 2-1, Bowling Green 2-1, wow. Central 1-2, and IU 1-2, Ball State 1-2. I mean, just wide open. Kent State and Akron. Sorry, guys, you're not in this conversation right now, but you love it.
80% of the conference is.
Yeah, you absolutely got to love the MAC, and they. It's funny when we on every Friday show, which I can't wait till we start getting them on Tuesday nights. I'm fired up to watch more MACtion because ESPN Plus is tough for me, Jeff. I try. It's very difficult to watch. It is, and you see the lines for the MAC games. It's always 1.5, 2.5, 3.5.
There's no value there in the bet.
Then there's the big game that they think is going to be a blowout, and it'll be like Toledo -8. Close game, 1 touchdown game. But hey, Ball State, Jeff, it might have been a bit of a trap game for Vandy, but hey, they played Vandy tight.
They sure
Ball
did.
State did.
I was rooting for them. The media darlings, the Vanderbilt Commodores. I thought they were going to go down, but unfortunately they didn't. I can't pick this conference. I couldn't pick a game in this conference to save my life. It is so difficult, and each week you don't know who's going to show up. It doesn't matter if they look like the best team in the country a week ago. you better be ready because they could come out and look like a completely different team. But I'm fired up because we are traveling this week, my friend.
And here's what
we're traveling.
Oh boy. You know, I get to spend my Friday evening in two of quite possibly the worst places in our country, and that's the Atlanta airport and the Detroit airport. But after that, Jeff, I get to Toledo, my friend. Boy, I can't wait to have that. I can't wait to get up there. We've only seen one MAC school on a Saturday game day so far, and that was in Oxford at Miami, which was an incredible time. And this is big rivalry game, Battle of I-75. Both teams really still right there in the mix of this thing. I mean, I can't wait. I cannot wait. But here's the funny thing about the MAC. We come out preseason. I think I've lost my internet, Jeff. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah, you're back now.
My apologies. I think what has happened. Hang on, Jeff. I'm going to plug in my Ethernet, which I believe has come undone. That's the issue we're having here. But anyway, preseason, we look at this thing and you look at Miami being the favorite. We say they got all this stuff coming back, and then they start slow. And we're saying, oh, Toledo lost too much, but then they start fast. And then you're like, God, I was way off on this. And then you go 2 more weeks after that, and you're like, well, now, wait a minute. Here comes Miami looking like the Miami we thought they were going to look like. And now Toledo is starting to look like they're missing the quarterback a little bit. And you look at NIU, right? You had NIU kind of, they are what we thought they were, right? They come out, they beat Notre Dame, and everybody's like, oh, my God, NIU is the greatest thing. And we're like, well, just wait till they get to conference play.
That's right.
And now, they win 1 week, lose the next. But that's the MAC, man. That is the MAC. Outside of that Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan game, though, with a little bit of a shootout. But other than that, and then that's the other part. Then you get Western Michigan and Buffalo, and I get on here and I say, yeah, Buffalo's defense is just too good to have a high-scoring game, and then we got a 48-41 game.
Anybody on any day can get it in the MAC, and yeah, I don't know what the over-under. What maybe that's the play on the MAC. Maybe that's the way to go as far as if there's any degenerate gamblers like myself out there is stay away from the spreads. There's not a lot of value on the money line. Maybe it's the over-under because, 89 points in that Western Michigan Buffalo game. What's that? 72 points in the Central and Eastern Michigan game. And then you got a whopping 19 points total scored in the Toledo. I don't know. It's a wild state of affairs, but MAC is fun to watch, that's for sure. We'll be there in the Glass City starting Friday morning. I'll get there early. So if anybody is in the Glass City, I'd love to meet you. Go have a cold snap with you, hang out, paint the town blue. And then we got a great game Saturday. We're going to do a show Saturday morning. I believe we're shooting for noon. Going to be great. Cannot wait. Hopefully Sprouse gets in the dunk tank. I believe they're having a dunk tank is what I've been told. Forecast is a whopping 57 degrees maybe, I hope.
Oh, that's not bad.
I don't know, actually.
That's not bad. Let me take a gander at it.
It's going to be great. Got a facilities tour on deck. Brian Blair's helping us set that up. The AT we interviewed a couple months back. What you got?
Low of 42.
Well, it's a 3:30 kick. You should be fine.
High of 59. Sun will be out though. It'll be nice. But I don't remember what the temperature was.
A little cold
Oxford.
Out there, Sprouse, huh?
What's that?
After you go in the dunk tank, I'm like, a little cold out there, Sprouse.
It's gonna be cold. Yeah, well, I'll make sure to wear some jeans or something. But anyway, I can't wait. Priority number one, though, when we get to Toledo, is going to be watching that Friday night UNLV game, UNLV Boise State game Friday night. That is late kickoff. We got to find a facility that's going to be open till 1 a.m. in order to watch that thing. So
sure we can find one. Well, that's a perfect segue into the Mountain West, Sprouse.
Yeah, you got to look at this Mountain West. I mean, it seems like you would think it comes down to that Boise State UNLV game on Friday night, and then more than likely they're going to play again. Other than the fact that you have a team in Fort Collins and another team in San Diego all of a sudden that are 2-0 in the conference, and both on 2-game winning streaks.
Sorry about that. Sprout's having some technical difficulties, but what he was saying was you got two teams that are 2-0 in conference that still have everything they want ahead of them. Now, San Diego State has a tougher track, right? They play Washington State this week. Then they go on. They got Boise after that on the road, New Mexico at UNLV, and then Utah State finishing up with Air Force. So they have a little bit of a tougher schedule ahead of them. And then if you look at Colorado State, they can get this offense rolling. They have a far easier route, at least to be tied down the stretch. New Mexico State, Nevada, Wyoming, at Fresno State's probably their toughest track. And then they got Utah State to finish the season at home. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can get Sprouse back in here.
I'm here.
Cool. Got it.
I tell you, Jeff, I heard everything you said. Great analysis. I'm about to lose my mind. It's because these people are digging. I told you I come home and they've dug up my front yard, and I haven't seen them in a few days. And what I'm dealing with now is they have the, what do you call it? The mule tape and those orange, PVC looking deals. They're just sticking out of the ground.
Nice.
And they haven't, it looks like they're supposed to be done. And I'm telling you, I think they messed up my internet. I mean, I'm hardwired in right now, and I don't
know, you're all over the place.
I know, now I'm flustered. But yeah, I mean, this Mountain West, look, Boise and UNLV are the best teams, and it's
yeah, but one of them's going to have a loss. One of them will have a loss, and that's the thing. If Colorado State can run the table, they're in.
They are.
But can they do that? That's what it comes down to. I don't know.
Well, and you just went through their schedule, right? They don't play either of the other two.
Colorado State doesn't. Their toughest game is Fresno State, and I believe it's on the road. San Diego State's got to play both of them. They got to play Boise and UNLV, so I don't see them getting past either of them.
Well, and then you have the situation of what's the tiebreaker there if whoever loses between Boise and UNLV, and then if Colorado State loses to Fresno,
I assume it's a computer at that point.
I love a good computer ranking
because you won't.
Honestly, the computers get it better than these committees do.
Yeah, I mean, you won't have a head-to-head. I don't think they go by overall record. So I think it comes down to, and they won't. Neither of those teams will be ranked. So
this is okay. This is where getting rid of the divisions to me is a little bit of a problem, because you're getting rid of the divisions, but you're not playing everybody else.
Yeah.
So it all what matters is your schedule at that point.
Yeah, it was a favorable draw.
Right. I mean, you look at the American, you look back at South Florida. I mean, imagine if they don't play Memphis, Tulane back to back like that, And so you go from being middle of the conference to playing for a conference championship without even having to play the best teams in the conference. Where if you had divisions, you at least have to play everybody in your division.
That's right.
You at least have to win your side of the bracket. So, but they've all gotten rid of that in an effort to put their best two teams. That's why they've all done it.
Yep.
And yet here we are. But then, I mean, look, you can't predict who's going to be the best two, but I think in the Mountain West, you probably could have predicted Boise and UNLV would be two of the best.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have them play on a weekend in October. And then you're going to have, and then look, Colorado State might mess around and lose 3 more times. You never know. But I don't know. It's one of those things.
Here, man, this is. Let's just say UNLV beats Boise, and UNLV goes on to be undefeated, and Boise has one loss. Does a loss against UNLV knock Boise out of the top 25? It'd be 2 losses at that point.
No,
No?
shouldn't.
Okay.
But see,
well, then if Boise is still ranked and they have a
Yeah,
one
they'll be
loss,
in.
they'll be in. But if they're
Well,
not, and let's just say Fresno State can run the table the rest of the way, then you'll have Fresno State and Boise State tied at 2-1, or with 1 loss in the conference.
what happened last year?
I know.
What?
And then it'll be a head-to-head against those teams with a computer draw because they don't play each other. They don't have a head-to-head. It's wild. I think the computer would probably give it to Boise. I would think, but I don't know. I don't even know what goes.
Yeah,
into the
well,
computer,
and when you go to playoff committee ranking, I'm not going to get up here and pretend like Boise State on that side of it that the committee wants to help Boise State, right?
No, they don't.
For rating, well, hold on now. For ratings purposes, you want Boise to be your 12 against your SEC runner-up at 5 or your Big Ten runner-up, because that's who's going to be your 5 at this point. It's going to be Ohio State or Oregon, right? Probably whoever wins that, or Indiana. Boy, you'd love that, wouldn't you? Love that.
Well, Penn State's still up there.
Penn State. Okay, so it'll be whoever your Big Ten runner-up is, or your SEC runner-up, Texas, Georgia, Vandy might
Tennessee,
be
maybe.
I mean Tennessee, yeah. Whoever. So you want that ranking because you want to be able to push. They'll be playing the highlight of the Statue of Liberty for weeks, getting ready for that game to hype up Boise. But nobody else has the brand power that Boise has in the Group of 5. Nobody does. I don't care what anybody says. Plus, they have Ashton Genty, who, even though they've tried their best to not make him a household name, is now a household name.
He'll be in New York.
100%. And I Jeff, I know we got to get going, but I'm seeing people on Twitter that are saying, well, of course he's not going to win the Heisman. None of the Heisman voters have actually seen him play. I'm thinking, well, boy, maybe you should get your Heisman vote revoked if you're not watching players play. I mean, and that's what we have. We know this, right? We know the committee, dude. We know how hard it is to try to watch these games, and we're only covering, half the schools. So we know what the committee, they're not even covering. They don't start paying attention to anybody except for their,
Well, it's got to be something ridiculous, like somebody on track to beat Barry Sanders' record. Like, it's got to be something so crazy that they'll even pay attention.
Well, wild that's happening, and we're still trying to argue it.
I know.
I got one more thing I'm disgruntled about, Jeff.
All right, go for it, and we got to get to the belt.
I know we got to get through the belt. Well, this has to do with the belt, and it has to do with the Georgia Southern game. There was a picture on Facebook actually about the Georgia. Everybody's been giving Georgia Southern students hell for leaving early against Marshall, but somebody took a picture of the other side. A lot of empty seats on that home side, and then it's potential that those are the club, the suites, and they have their outdoor options, so those are empty. But a lot of empty seats. But Jeff, my point here is, I went down and started reading through the comments, and I mean, this excuse machine that we have created is something wild, because what's it always been? Win, right? Okay. We're winning, which by the way, that myth is funny because University of Florida wants to fire their coach. They're like 500. Everybody thinks their season's down the drain, and yet, boy, they're all there every weekend, aren't they? It's amazing how that happens. Then they're saying, it's too expensive. Oh, Statesboro's too hard to get to. There's not enough hotels. Oh, and the excuses just keep coming. You think about your best SEC environments, Gainesville, Florida. You ever been there? Not a lot going on in Gainesville, Florida. Athens, Georgia. Not that simple, not that easy to get to. 2 hours from Atlanta, hour and a half from Atlanta. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I mean, have you ever been to these places? There's nothing there. And it's just like, man, it's always something like, and I just wish people would just have, I don't know what the word is, more acknowledgement of like, Yeah, I don't know. I just rather watch it on TV. Hey, man, fine.
Yeah, just be honest. Stop making excuses.
Just be honest. Yeah. Now, I will say, all these places have made it very difficult for you to go, especially if you have a lot of kids. I mean, it does become very expensive. And then, with all these TV timeouts, if it's a 7 o'clock game, I mean, you're there till midnight. So that is tough. That to me is legitimate. But anyway.
Well, the same people who are making the excuses are the same people who wanted Clay Helton fired before the season.
They wanted Clay Helton fired. They wanted J.C. French benched.
Yep. So, it's just this. And look where you're at. You're at the top of the East, kings of the East right now. Yeah, you better get ready because everybody is coming at you. You are not pulling the wool.
And Old Dominion, look, Old Dominion doesn't play non-close games no matter what. And they even pulled one out this week. But anyway, so Georgia Southern gets that win over James Madison. Got a little hairy for him for a second there. Thought James Madison was going to make a push. They had that pick six, but they get it done, man. Sole possession now with a head-to-head over Marshall, head-to-head over James Madison. Going to be tough to get them out of that first spot in the East. And then in the West, it appears it's coming out of the state of Louisiana. Now, whether that be if I would have told you at the beginning of the season that a late November game between the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana and the Warhawks of ULM was going to be for a conference championship berth, but that is starting to shape up and it's looking like it might happen. But you got Monroe or Louisiana gonna probably come out of the West with Texas State getting another loss.
I love it. November 30th. That game in Monroe.
In Monroe.
How far is Monroe?
I don't have any idea where Monroe is.
I think
Monroe is closer for me than Lafayette.
Is it?
Because I want to say when I went to Lafayette a few years ago, I saw the signs for Monroe. Now I don't know off I-10 because I'd be on 10.
Yeah.
I think that's 10. I'd be on 10. I saw the sign, Monroe this way, but some of those times it says Monroe this way, but you get off and then you driving through the swamp for 2 hours. So I don't know about that. I mean, it's got to be 8. It's got to be 7-8 hours for me.
It has to be.
So, but anyway, what do you think about a nice Thanksgiving with the what are those people's names? What are the Duck Dynasty people's names? Remember that show?
Yeah.
The Robertsons. About a little Thanksgiving with the Robertsons. By the way, I would take a duck call sponsorship for our show, Jeff.
Ain't no doubt
and
about it.
Didn't the one guy play quarterback for? He played quarterback for La Tech.
Yeah.
It's
about an 8-hour drive for me, my friend.
It's doable, buddy.
It's a trek. I will just private charter plane into Monroe. I wish.
Well, yeah, you're the one that's got that.
No, sure don't.
But anyway, man, I tell you, they all look good. Coastal's unraveling. Texas State maybe unraveling. Southern Miss fired their coach. A lot of stuff happening in the Sun Belt, but they're the only conference that still has the East and West. Man, it is wild to see. I mean, right? Look, if Old Dominion, that's a Thursday night game, short week for Georgia Southern and Old Dominion. If Old Dominion can win that game, they are in the driver's seat.
They sure are. Because then they still got App, James Madison, Marshall. I mean, they have a tough.
Still got to play all the one. Yeah,
you got a tough track ahead, but it's not going to be no blowouts by the Monarchs. I mean, it's going to be tight. Whether they win or lose, it's going to be a tight game.
I'll say this for the Texas State fans that are in shambles right now. You're off this week. And then you back-to-back play both Louisiana teams. So you have a chance to end all this talk real quick in 2 straight weekends. If they can beat both Louisiana, the Cajuns and Monroe. So I mean, look, Texas State's still right there. They only have one conference loss. I don't want to say this is wide open, but kind of. I mean, the West outside of Southern Miss and Troy.
I mean, everybody still has to play
One
each
loss.
other. That's the thing, and we talk about it every year how difficult the Sun Belt is week in and week out, regardless of who the team is. Like they're gonna play hard. It's gonna be a physical game, and they're gonna be well coached. Outside of maybe like one or two teams, but yeah, I think both conferences really both divisions.
Yeah.
Anybody can still make a play. Hell, Arkansas State's 2-1.
South Alabama's 2-1.
I mean,
yep.
Gonna have to see how these play out. Joe Judkins asked if Ethan Vasco was hurt. No, he was not. He was pulled and benched.
Interesting, though. Yeah, that happened
in the second quarter, a little early.
Yeah, a little early, I thought. By the way, Jeff, I got like some kind of a bug bite. You remember my swing? You remember the swing set saga of this offseason? Well, yesterday I stained it, or I did the wood seal.
Yeah.
You want to talk about being a pain in the ass? That was I
hate it.
So I was gonna do like a little sprayer, but then I was like, I don't want to get this stuff all over the grass. It's gonna stay. It's gross when it's not spread evenly on the wood. You know what I mean? I got some on my feet and stuff. It's like it looks like I have a very bad problem, skin disease. But anyway, so I'm out there with like a little applicator pad, just board by board, and then there's so many damn crevices, and I'm sure I missed some. But anyway, I got bit by something out there, and man, I may have to wear some high socks over the rest of my day because it's kind of killing me. Anyway, we got some Tuesday night games, Jeff.
Yes, we do.
Conference USA back in action. Sam Houston at FIU. I believe this is the Miami Vice uniforms and field. They're white this year for FIU. Tough loss for them last week. Going to be tough for them to bounce back against Sam Houston. We'll see how Sam Houston responds. Really the first time for Sam Houston that they've had success and got knocked down a notch, and then they got to go back and play. Look, they're favored in this game. They ought to win this game. But we'll see. FIU's played some good teams tight, so we'll see what happens.
To me, the big thing is says Hunter Watson's still uncertain on the game tomorrow. So if they don't have him, I think it becomes a lot closer than it should be, because if they had Watson, I think this game would be not very close.
Yeah.
So just got to keep an eye on that.
Well, and then on FIU side, what's the status of Keywan Jenkins
true.
And their backup got hurt too. So
yeah.
you got some issues there. If Jenkins is out, you got a big problem.
Yeah.
Hunter Watson is a big part, but FIU they're not going anywhere without Keywan Jenkins. Yeah, give me Sam Houston either way to win. The health of both quarterbacks to me depends on by how much. UTEP at La Tech. Can UTEP get a second win? La Tech is so hard for me to figure out. I think they're better than UTEP. They're at home. I'll take La Tech here.
I'm going the Miners. I think the Miners are going to build off of that win a week ago. The defense is stingy. La Tech's offense, against our alma mater, they freaking blew the doors off, couldn't be stopped. But then last week didn't look as good. So I'm going to roll with the Miners. Scotty Walden and company.
I like it. Well, that's all we got for football. We got voicemails. We got a lot of them. Probably going to get to most today. We'll get to some on Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah. And
then also, by the way, we're more than likely going to be recording our show for Friday because we'll be traveling. Pretty much Jeff will be traveling first thing in the morning and then me in the afternoon on Friday. So won't be a live show Friday, but we'll have something out there for you either way. But guys, keep calling the hotline 615-900-4286. Give your reactions from the weekend or your picks for the following week. See what we got.
Hey guys, this is Brett from the Fort Collins, Colorado. I heard a specific person from Laradice call in, and I just can't have that because they're bad, and we finally have a chance to get the boot back. We're on a high. We're third place in the conference. We got a 2-0 start in conference. Things are looking up. And I just want the Wyoming fans to know we're coming for you this year. It's over. The boot's ours. I'm sorry. Accept it. It's okay. It'll be all right. But it's ours. And we might keep it for a long time. I know that we've been labeled as the dissenters, the people that have left the group of five. But we don't see it that way. We love the group of five. We're very thankful to be there. And but I just want Wyoming Cowboy fans to know CSU's taking the boot back. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Brett.
Well, and CSU, they just got the Ram Falcon trophy back for the first time in a little bit. So collect them all. Collect them all while you can. Finally come. Isn't it, Jeff, we say this every year. You got to let seasons play out. You got to do it. I was tweeting about it. You know, when I was down in Statesboro, the Boo Birds were already out because their defense, we just can't tackle. Well, now you find out, the guy you couldn't tackle, nobody can tackle. And Boise State is sitting there saying, we should be dominating this Sun Belt team. Well, now Georgia Southern's at the top of the Sun Belt. They've got some big wins. They beat James Madison, who was some of, a lot of people's favorite in the group of five. So it's like, maybe that win was actually a pretty good win. So you just got to let seasons play out a little bit. For Colorado State, you're thinking, oh man, are we ready to pull the plug on Norvell here? And it's like, well, now all of a sudden you're in the running for a conference championship.
Sure. With a favorable track ahead. Appreciate it, Brett. We'll keep this thing rolling.
Group of five guys. Chuck here. Seems like we got a problem with JMU going on the road. Man, listen, y'all two have played a whole lot more football than I have. Have you ever seen a situation where a team's been +4 on the turnover margin and lost by 2 scores? I mean, so many questions. We kind of got a yo-yo situation here where we're not really sure which team's going to show up. I mean, they show up well at home. Thank God the next 2 games are at home. But, it's like they never even got off the bus. I mean, all the procedural stuff, just lack of situational football regarding offensive play calling. I don't know. How do you not have a hot route or a short read when you're under all that pressure? Barnett I don't know. He just got spooked or something. But, to the Georgia Southern crew, I mean, y'all were ready and you brought it and you won and you should have won. I think ULM exposed the blueprint and, you put a lot of pressure on Barnett. Just seems like things get tough for him. And for an offensive line that has as many starts as they do, the fact that they can't get the snap off or, all these false starts, I mean, that is just, I think that's back to coaching. I don't know. Speaking of coaching, I thought Chesney did a good job kind of owning it in the press conference. But anyway, keep on trucking. Unfortunately, we need help. Can't control our own destiny, but, who knows? But stay forward, focus on the next game. Go Dukes. Go group of five guys.
Well, we say it every show about the turnovers, and yeah, this is an outlier here.
Yeah,
turnovers, penalties, but
it seems like getting pressure on opposing team's quarterback is always going to be beneficial. Like, even if he beats you, it's going to happen sometimes. It's just something it's tough to deal with. And this is, you got a couple showings now where it shows you get pressure on Barnett. He hadn't been able to quite figure it out. Some of that's coaching. Schematically, you got to know what the defense is trying to do. Either bring in an extra blocker or you make them pay through a screen, some type of quick concept. But you got to give Georgia Southern credit. Got to give that crowd credit. You got to think that some of that procedural stuff is, affected from the crowd. I would imagine. Now they're used to playing at home in front of a big crowd, but on the road, it's a different environment. So shout out to Georgia Southern getting it done. And I guess, I'm sorry, James Madison. It's my fault. I finally hopped on the bandwagon.
I knew it.
I hopped on the bandwagon. I was like, you know what? I'm all in on James Madison. They're going to cover. I think they're going to cover easy. Damn it.
I know.
Cost me
I know.
some money.
I even gave some betting advice to one you guys all know and love, the Swag Bear, and I feel guilty about it. Because he said to me, Sprouse, Georgia Southern's been winning. And I said, yeah, but they beat Marshall because Marshall fumbled 3 straight plays or whatever they did. And hey, and Georgia Southern fans, you're welcome, because I sort of jumped off the Georgia Southern bandwagon. And that's just because I have this little dream. I have a dream today, Jeff, of a Sun Belt championship game in Statesboro, Georgia. If it's not going to be in Lafayette, Louisiana, Statesboro, Georgia will do just fine. Plus, selfishly, a little easier for me to get to.
Well, appreciate it, Chuck. We'll keep this thing going.
It's Cuthbert from SSN Army, and I'm back, because guess what? Army's not going anywhere. Do you see my boy? Do you see Bryson Daly? Bryson for Heisman. 7 for 10, 147, and a touchdown. Oh, and by the way, he had 31 carries for 171, and count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. Army is an unstoppable train. We got the bye week coming up. Next week, we're taking on the Chair Force. Apologies. All right? This is our year. It's all lining up for Army. The weather's only getting colder, and we're hosting more home games on the banks of the mighty Hudson. On brave old Army team!
That was awesome.
Big time.
He's not wrong. Everything he said is factual and true. Captain America is leading that team, man.
Yes, he is. We need to have. I think we need to start seeing the Bryson for Heisman talk and the Horvath for Heisman talk, along with the Genty for Heisman talk.
I agree.
I mean, what these guys are doing is not to be ignored. Air Force is gonna. I'm so upset that Air Force is not taking advantage of this.
Imagine if all 3 of them were like. I mean, you have such meaningful academy matchups.
Now, here's the kicker on this, though, Jeff. You remember about this time last year? What were we talking about? Oh, buddy, Air Force is a New Year's team, 8-0.
It's true.
Looking unbeatable, and then all of a sudden, I'm not wishing this upon anybody, but you had a quarterback injury, and if either one of those guys, anything were to happen, I mean, my God, they'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So
that's any team, right? Your starting QB goes down. That's a huge hit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I will say the Heisman has become a bit of a quarterback centric award.
Yeah, not this kind of quarterback.
No, I mean, Jeff. Let's get these guys in the talk. Let's get these guys in the conversation.
Well, look, Army has had Heisman's. In the past, now Army was your program. Army was your national championship team year in and year out.
I want to see it. I'm gonna be honest. I was at my son's flag football game yesterday coaching, and somebody had brought up, Tennessee. Everybody's talking about Tennessee, Alabama. I'm in the South, so that's all the topic of conversation is. And I happened to turn around because they're talking about the playoff, and they weren't even mentioning a group of 5 team. I was like, look, I said, let me tell you right now, there's a team that you probably don't even know about that you want no part of. And if they get a home game in December, you do not want to go to West Point and play that triple option team with Captain America leading the charge. And he's like, who? I'm like, Army, you dumb shit. Like, Army, man. Go watch it. Go watch something outside of the SEC and look at
Jeff. You make a great point about a potential home game. Boise in December, West Point in December, Annapolis in December.
Cold.
I tell you what, it'd be real nice in December, though. Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, about 78 degrees.
They're not going to get a home game, though.
No, they won't. Because even if they, if they were to beat Boise, they don't have 2 losses though, not yet. If they were to beat Boise twice, theoretically, come on now.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, they got more
They do
Power
only have
5
one.
wins than anybody in the Group of 5.
That's true. No, you're true about that.
I mean, it's a tough.
That's just a lot of just a lot of movement over the last. What is that?
Yeah. The
6
problem we're
games?
having here is, you remember in 2007 when every single week number one kept losing, and in those times when number one lost, they were like, get him out.
Yeah.
See, now they don't do that anymore. Now, like we talked about earlier, is they just move them down a couple spots and replace them with the other SEC team, and then that team loses, and then they put the other one right back. I mean, look at Georgia. They lose to Alabama, who's turning out to be not very good, and they only drop like 3 spots.
That's my biggest worry is if you're not ranked at this point, for you to make the climb all the way up to what they have to be 5, 6, or 7. Is that right?
No,
To have a home game in the first round?
Or 8.
Or
5
8.
through 8.
5 through 8.
Yep.
To make an unranked number all the way up there is very unlikely. But now Army, Navy, and Boise are the 3 ranked teams we have. If we want a home game, I'm sort of pulling for one of those programs.
And Army and Navy both still have Notre Dame for a resume builder, and Boise will have UNLV twice.
Yeah,
maybe.
And Boise's got the brand, and some
And
of
the
the teams
Heisman
ranked,
candidate.
and the teams are ranked ahead of them. Some of those guys will lose, so you'll
Right.
get them to drop. You'll get automatic pushes up. I think those 3 are honestly our best shot at right now, today, sitting here today for a home game.
And I think at this point for our rooting interests, I think you have to root now I think you have to root for the favorites to win. We talked about Oregon, right? For me now, it's like you want to see Oregon just keep winning and them knock off. They already knocked off Ohio State. You want to see them knock off Penn State. You want to see them knock off it. You want to see the runner-ups of these conferences have 2-3 losses. That's to me, you want to root for Alabama to lose again. You probably now at this point, you want Georgia to beat who they probably still have to play, Tennessee. You want to see Georgia knock Tennessee down, because then that's going to give them another loss. That's what I think you got to start seeing, because when you get to, if you have a 1-loss Boise or an undefeated Army Navy and you have a 3-loss SEC team, come on now. Now here's the other part of it though, Jeff. For those, I mean, you're going to look at whoever's the 10, 11 or 9, 10, 11, and 12. I mean, even if you're not going to Boise or West Point, do you want to go to Penn State in December? Do you want to go to Ohio State in December? Do you want to go to Oregon? I mean, anywhere's going to be cold. I mean, Jeff, even
Oregon
somewhere
won't
like
have a home
Athens or
game.
Tuscaloosa is going to be cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
That's true.
And South Florida or FIU and FAU ain't getting in. So it's going to be cold wherever. But I'm cold right now, Jeff. It's 68 degrees.
I can't wait.
Yeah, but either way, I think we got to go. Sorry, I'm pushing on. We got to get a couple more voicemails in.
No, you're good. Let's keep it rolling.
What's up, boys? This is Dan Rocket Man Savage, and we just took down the non-rivals, the battle for the Red Rocket Trophy, and now we got a big one. We got the Falcons coming up here. Welcome to the Glass City. Can't wait to chauffeur you boys around. But man, oh man, was that an ugly-ass game today in DeKalb. Glad to get out with a win. 2 backup quarterbacks. It's fine. We're having a good time. I switched from Zins to Grizzly Wintergreen. Again, back to my old ways, and that's what it's going to take down the Falcons. BG, go Rockets. Love you, Group of 5 guys.
Can't wait to see you.
Can't wait.
We all got to make sacrifices and get ready for these big games, and my man's going to the Wintergreen Grizzly.
That is a big time sacrifice. Have you ever had? I've never been a dipper.
I haven't.
But have you ever tried those caffeinated dip pouches?
That's what he's talking about. The Zins.
No, those are just nicotine or
I don't know. I'm pretty
they're
sure
just
those
tobacco free Zins.
I
they
thought
got
they
nicotine.
I thought they were like, I thought they had whatever. They're like energy. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't do those.
They might have caffeine, but I know that. I mean, they still have nicotine in them. I'm just talking about like the plain old. They got a couple that's just caffeine. It's like 50 milligrams of caffeine in a pouch. You can carry it around in your back pocket and look real blue collar. Maybe throw some boots on.
Lunch pail, hard hat.
Yeah, a little hard hat, lunch pail,
or
orange
you just
vest.
go work the window at McDonald's. That's pretty blue collar nowadays.
Be careful, Jeff. Yeah, good showing at McDonald's. So a lot of big crowd.
Line down the street.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll
tell you though, I've never gotten a fry order the way he puts together the fry order.
I mean, incredible.
Overflowing with fries. I never get something like that.
I mean, when you have that little scoop, you just you get it packing it down in there. Telling you, it's got.
Well, see, anytime I've been to McDonald's, now that we're here, I have a McDonald's probably like 3.5 minutes from my house, and I promise we don't go often. I'm not a fast food. I really don't care for much fast food, but any place that has fries, Chick-fil-A, whatever. I eat a fry or two on the way. I'm sitting at the light. Then I get home and they're gone.
Hey, eat them all.
It's so limited amount of fries. You're lucky you find a few in the bag afterwards. You say, yeah, I don't know, son. They must give you the small size. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to your fries, kid. But anyway.
That's great. I can't wait to see you, Dan. We'll be up there Friday.
Can't wait.
So we got to link up.
Wait.
What is up, gentlemen? It is your friendly JMU fan, Grant Horan. And here's the thing. Of course, I am upset at JMU's loss to Georgia Southern over the weekend, right? And here's the thing. I mean, I am okay with the team losing, right? Because, if you get outplayed or, again, it's a close game, you miss a couple of plays, that happens, right? But the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde routine we've got going on here, where sometimes this offense just shows up, absolutely drops dimes on them. And then instead yesterday we have an offense that, you get a pick six to get some points on the board and an interception with 12 minutes left in the game that's returned the opponent's 40. You're only down 2 scores and it's just nothing happens. And it's what is going on? Now, again, I think other JMU fans are all over the place. Like, oh, maybe Chelsea's not the guy, this or that. And I think we have to take a step back and realize, hey, we lost Signetti. We lost an entire roster, basically. So the fact that at this point in the season we're 5-2, one game, win away from being in a bowl game, compared to what Troy is going through, count our blessings, right, everyone? To sit here and say we would have just reloaded and competed for the college football playoff is, again, a pipe dream. Again, would have been amazing. And had we won yesterday, do I think maybe, all right, could this team do it? Sure. But I think yesterday's game sort of showed us what the ceiling is. And I think if we can get a nice 9-win season, I mean, here's the thing. At the beginning of the year, if you had told JMU fans, hey, we're going to have a 9-win season, they would have been, hey, that's absolutely great. Because for what happened, fantastic. And I think after the, 4-0 start, everyone was all like, oh, well, actually, JMU's the greatest thing since sliced bread. We are the best school ever. Anyway, I think this really allowed everyone to level set expectations. I expect a 9-win season regardless, get into a decent bowl game here, and that should then give us enough prowess to recruit, get more people out of the transfer portal, and go for the CFP next year. Anyway, I appreciate you boys. Have a great rest of your day, and as always, go Group of 5.
Appreciate it, Grant. See, the Grant and Chucks of the JMU fan base, they're the ones that have been pushing me more towards the JMU fandom because they're very understanding, very realistic, very grounded in their analysis. Every James Madison fan should be absolutely thrilled with how they have been playing this year with losing as much as you can. Because I could easily say they probably lost about as much as Troy did. Head coach, roster, a lot of different pieces on the coaching staff.
Conference player of the year quarterback.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are at a great spot. You're still in the hunt.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Let's keep it rolling. We'll do a couple more, and then there'll be a couple we'll finish, we'll save for Wednesday just because of time.
Group of 5 guys, Josh Bevel here, calling my way back from the borough. Man, it must be pretty crappy to be a James Madison fan, honestly. All they like to do is just complain. I feel sure they're complaining about, their picture in y'all's, group of 5 power poll. They always got something to complain about, but hey, how about them Eagles? I mean, we played a good game, great defensive game, the best defensive game all year, honestly. And, some fans still want J.C. French benched. Yeah, I know the stat line says he threw 3 picks, one of them being a pick 6, but if you pick up the block on the pick 6, the guy's not there. Who would have thought that the ball doesn't get batted down and a guy that's 6'2", 300 pounds doesn't make a diving catch? It's not an interception. Now, he did have one bad pass, it's just a bad pass. I disagree with the play call, but, you got to throw a better ball than that. With that being said, student section's still out there training to put in Dexter Williams. Dex is an unbelievable talent. Not to try to discredit him whatsoever. Dex is a great football player and a great kid. But come on, guys. There's about 5% of our fan base that is pissed off after yesterday. They're mad. They're mad. They think the season's over. The season's over when we're in the driver's seat for the freaking Sun Belt, for Christ's sake. I mean, you would think you'd be happy beating, honestly, the best team in the conference. JMU's better than us. They're better than us. But they weren't better than us yesterday. And I'm glad the Sun Belt commissioner was in the stands just to see how crappy his officiating crews are. Still terrible, but hey. How about them Eagles? Hail Southern, we got Old Dominion coming up on Thursday. ODU's a good ball club. They always play, everybody tight. Hopefully we blow them out the water, but who knows? We're in the driver's seat. We control our own destiny. And if we lose, we're beating ourselves. Go Eagles. Hail Southern.
Runs through Statesboro.
It sure does. It sure does.
I'm happy for him. But yeah, you're always going to have that section of the fan base that you could win a damn national championship and they'd be complaining.
Well, if you don't, anytime you lose, I mean, even if they make their way all the way to the conference championship and lose a tough one, or make it past and lose the bowl game, they're always, whenever you lose, they're going to be upset. But it's the way it is.
Yeah. We'll finish up with Morgan's voicemail, and then we got saving Terry Johnson and Wood from Boone's. He had 2 voicemails, so we're going to save those for Wednesday. But we'll finish up with Morgan.
Nothing from Steeple yet, huh?
Nothing from Steeple.
Huh.
Hey, fellas, Morgan here, resident Tulane fan. Boy, I'll take a win, but I think that was a wake-up call on Saturday. I'm just glad that we were able to pull it out, made a lot of mistakes. Mario Williams dropped a couple of touchdown passes, but a couple other observations. Defense came through when it had to. And Makai Hughes, you never hear a peep from him, but all he does is just keep rumbling, 140 yards and a touchdown. And all he is now is top 10 in the country in rushing yards for the season. So that's a great sign. We're able to take over a drive and punch him into the end zone. So really glad the wake-up call happened this week, though, coming up against North Texas. I think that's going to be a shootout. Too bad it's an early game, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, I just wanted to share those thoughts, and I think the one thing I will say about this team, I think it's a characteristic that they have. Defense comes through when it needs to, and there's something about this team that's unique. They seem to play really together, and every game that we have to face, there's some kind of a first thing that last time, maybe the last 2, but every game we've come through when we had to, and let's see if we can keep it going. Anyway, so last thing just about the crowd. I know I sent out that tweet. The crowd did actually fill in real well. Just a shame with our stadium, that the orientation that it is. Home side on the sunny side, but great crowd, great student turnout. Anyway, roll wave. Let's even get the train rolling. All righty, have a good one, fellas.
Appreciate you, Morgan. Yeah, I'm still high. I'm high on Tulane. That's going to be an interesting matchup, them in North Texas. Can that D-line get pressure on Chandler Morris? That's what they got to do.
Yeah. Well, we know North Texas can go score fast. And then can Tulane, if North Texas does, kind of like with Memphis, can Tulane not panic? feed Mekhi Hughes.
Yep.
Let Mensa just manage the game, not do anything crazy. That'll be the key to that one. Or did North Texas, they lay it all out there for Memphis and they come out and lay an egg. That'll be the there's a lot of good ones Saturday. Starts with Friday night, really. Starts with Thursday night with ODU, Georgia Southern.
Stop. It starts tomorrow night. Conference USA battles going on.
Well, I'm not even saying who plays Wednesday. For Liberty's got to play. I mean, they haven't played in a month.
Yeah, and they should be a midweek. Should be a midweek game. Let me look here, and then we gotta get out of here. Oh, our alma mater, Middle Tennessee at Jacksonville State, and Liberty is on the road at Kennesaw State. Could be their first win of the season.
Kennesaw's?
Yeah.
Jeff. No, come on. Hey, man. That's the problem right now with Conference USA is you're just getting the top teams are playing the not so top teams, and you're not getting the big matchups yet. Although last week that was a fun game to watch, that Western Sam Houston game. But hey, listen, that's all we got for you guys on this Monday morning. Thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. If you're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please click the subscribe to the channel button. Please click the like button. Leave a review, 5-star rating. Tell your family and friends all about us. Visit group5guys.com. Get you some Group of Five Guys swag. Hope you guys have a great Monday and a fantastic week 9. We're out of here.